start the class. You all might know which textbook this is from. This is from Vistas of the subject English of class 12 CBSE syllabus. And the chapter name it is the third level by Jack Finney. And I think it would be suitable to provide you all with a short summary. So, the summary it goes like this: there is a normal man named Charlie. He's a 31-year-old man, and he comes across a very unusual experience. So, what might be the unusual experience that he must have encountered? So one day he was in a hurry to return to his uptown. Uptown means a residential area in a city or a town. He was in an urgent mood to get to his house, to his apartment. So he had to take a Grand Central because trains they are faster than buses. So he decided to take a train from the Grand Central. So this Grand Central it has only two floors, but he managed to get into the third floor. Simultaneously, he also time traveled to the 1890s, but he was unsuccessful in obtaining a ticket because his currency was not suit for the past days. Then later he managed to escape from the third floor and also returns into his original time period, but he was unsuccessful in convincing his wife, psychiatrist, and friends that he had went to time travel in the third floor and that in the Grand Central a third floor exists. But unfortunately, none of them believed, and also he goes to an antique shop where he exchanges all his bank balance for some old currency. When he searched for the third floor, it was not there. But later, he and his wife together begin searching for what? They together begin searching for the third floor at the end of the chapter. And and by teaching you the entire chapter, I will tell you why exactly both of them they resumed checking for the third floor. So now let's begin the chapter, the third floor by Jack Finney. The presidents of the New York Central and the New York New Haven and the Hartford Railway roads will swear on a stack of timetables that there are only two. But I say there are three because I have been on the third floor of the Grand Central Station. Yes, I have taken the obvious step. I talked to a psychiatrist friend of mine, among others. I told him about the third level at the Grand Central Station, and he said it was a waking dream wish fulfillment. He said I was unhappy. That made my wife kind of mad, but he explained that he meant the modern world is full of insecurity, fear, war, worry, and all of the rest of it, and that I was just want to escape. Well, who doesn't? Everybody I knew wants to escape, but they don't wander down to any third level at Grand Central Station. But that's the reason, he said, and my friends all agreed. Everybody points to it. They claimed my stamp collecting, for example, that's a temporary refuge from reality. Well, maybe, but my grandfather didn't need any refuge from reality. Things were pretty nice and peaceful this day, from all I hear, and he started my collection. It's a nice collection too, blocks of four of practically every US issue, first day covers, and so on. President Roosevelt collected stamps too. So sorry to keep you waiting. So first of all, I will be completing each page. I will first recite the page, each page, and then I will finally explain. I will first of all recite a single page, and then I will tell you the meaning of it. The presidents, so whoever the current ruling presidents of, maybe it might be New York Central, New York or New Haven, there are places in the United States of America. So here the presidents, they swear, they can even swear on a stack of timetables, their schedules, their everything. They can like put them to sacrifice and pledge on it that there are only two Grand Central. In the Grand Central Station, there are only two floors that everybody knows, and that nobody has heard of a third floor. So what happened next is that if this our main protagonist Charlie, if he has encountered such a strange experience, first of all, people will surely advise him to meet a psychiatrist to confirm whether he's seeing hallucinations. So if we are seeing things that others can't see, then we might be hallucinating. So we might be seeing a psychiatrist. So he met a psychiatrist, and what happened next is that the psychiatrist said that it's just he's unhappy with his life. That's why he's seeing such things. But his wife, upon hearing this, it made her really unhappy because she suddenly thought, if if her husband is unhappy with their relationship, that's why he's unhappy with his life, and that as a result, he's seeing hallucinations. This made her go mad. But the psychiatrist was easily able to understand her feelings, what she suddenly thought, and then he further clarified that it was not because of that Charlie is unhappy with their relationship. It's just that our world is full of misery, war, and displeasure, and that he wants some relief from all these problems, and most probably hallucinations of time traveling might have been a relief for his mind. Like we all have some habits which we use to for a relief, for a temporary break from all the displeasure, discontentment of this world. Like for example, stamp collecting is said to be like a habit which is meant for recreation, but it's not necessarily one that is specifically used for a break as all the misery from the world. Rather, it's we just do it because it's a fun activity. Even the President Roosevelt used to do it, and the protagonist had a grandfather. The grandfather also used to do it for fun, and also in back in the grandfather's time, there was no such thing as misery. So who our protagonist contemplates that it's not stamp collecting, the habit that doesn't directly originate from a misery filled environment. Next, I will be reading up to here. Is that okay? Like the third page up to this paragraph. But I never told my psychiatrist friend about that idea. Okay. From here, anyway, here's what happened at Grand Central. One night last summer, I worked late at office. I was in a hurry to get uptown to my apartment, so I decided to take the subway from Grand Central because it's faster than the bus. Now I don't know why this should have happened to me. I'm just an ordinary guy named Charlie, 31 years old, and I was wearing a tan garbadine suit and a straw hat with a fancy band. I passed a dozen men who looked just like me, and I wasn't trying to escape from anything. I just wanted to get home to Louisa, my wife. I turned into Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue and went down the steps of the first level, where you take trains like the 20th century. Then I walked down another flight to the second level, where the suburban trains leave from, ducked into an arched doorway heading for the subway, and got lost. That's easy to do. I have been and out of Grand Central hundreds of times, but I am always bumping into new doorways and stairs and corridors. Once I got into a tunnel about a mile long and came out in the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. Another time I came up in an office building on 46th Street, 3 blocks away. Sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like roots. There's probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about feeling its way under the city right now, on its way to Times Square and maybe another to Central Park. And maybe because for so many people through the years, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape. Maybe that's how the tunnel I got into. But I never told my psychiatrist friend about that idea. Okay, so starting from anywhere, here's what happened at Grand Central. So he describes how exactly the strange experience occurred to him. He was very busy. He wanted to get home to Louisa, his wife. He lives in an apartment in an uptown. Uptown means a residential area in a city or town. So he quickly wants to reach there. So he doesn't take a bus. Instead, he takes a train at the Grand Central because he thinks that's the easier way through which he can get to his home. So he does it as such. So usually he walks like the first level, busy people are there, a lot of people are there, and they and in one of those floors, uh, 20th century named train is there. Lot of trains are there, and 20th century is one of the names of the trains there. You could also get there in one of those floors. But what happened to is that he has a habit of going down the stairs and getting into some unexpected place. Like one day he went to a Roosevelt Hotel, and the next day he went to another office, another office 3 blocks away. He managed to get to all through these places because of the Grand Central, and he thinks that the Grand Central, it has a big tunnel which connects a lot of routes like this, and maybe even another central. And then what happens? Then he just suddenly has an idea. Maybe because Grand Central is a way through which for many decades people use it as a way, as an escape from their busy and what type of life, discontented life. But he hasn't shared such an idea to his psychiatrist. Next, I will be explaining from the corridor I was in began angling left and right, left to. I wanted 2 tickets for that. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downward, and I thought I that was wrong, but I kept on walking. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps, and I didn't pass a soul. Then I heard that sort of hollow roar ahead. That means open space and people talking. The tunnel turned sharp left. I went down a short flight of stairs and came out on the third level at Grand Central Station. For just a moment, I thought I was back on the second level, but I saw the room was smaller. There were fewer ticket windows and train gates, and the information booth in the center was moved and old looking. And the man in the booth wore a green eye shade and wore long black sleeve protectors. The lights were dim and sort of flickering. Then I saw why. They were open flame gas lights. There were brass spittoons on the floor, and across the station a glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch, and frowned. He wore a derby hat, a black four-buttoned suit with tiny lapels, and he had a big black handlebar mustache. Then I looked around and saw that everybody in the station was dressed like 1890 something. I never saw so many beards, sideburns, and fancy mustaches in my life. A woman walked A woman walked in through the train gate. She wore a dress with leg of mutton sleeves and skirts the top of her high button shoes. Back of her, out on the tracks, I caught a glimpse of a locomotive, a very small Courier and Eves locomotive with a funnel-shaped stack. And then I knew. To make sure, I walked over to a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers at his feet. It was the world, and the world hasn't been published for years. The lead story said something about the president Cleveland. I found that front page since the public library files and it was printed June 11, 1894. I turned towards the ticket windows knowing that here on the third level at Grand Central I could buy tickets that would take Louisa and me anywhere in the United States we wanted to go in the year 1894, and I wanted two tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. Have you been there? It's a wonderful town still with big old framed houses, huge lawns, and tremendous trees whose branches meet overhead and roof the streets. And in 1894, summer evenings were twice as long, and people sat on their lawns, the men smoking cigars and talking quietly, the women waving palm leaf fans with fireflies all around in a peaceful world. To be back there with the First World War still 20 years off and World War II over 40 years in the future. I wanted two tickets for that. Okay, so the corridor, what happened? The corridor suddenly, when he reached the stairs, suddenly it became angling left and right. And suddenly he thought that maybe the direction is wrong. But then it led to a stairs, and there he could see a lot of people talking and all. Like when after we reach the floor, suddenly a lot of people will be talking and all, and it will create a sense of aura, like suddenly an hollow scream once we get down the stairs to a station. Such an atmosphere he got, and the people they were all lit, like they were all different from the modern world. Their dresses, their code of conduct, their mannerisms, what all things they used. Also the counters, they were very few, and the lanterns also they were of different times. The flooring was different, but he still managed to get onto that floor. And that he also locomotives, the type of vehicles also was old fashioned. And suddenly he got a spark that he might not be in the correct year. And then to confirm, he checked the newspaper of a newsboy. It was a lot of stacks in the floor. It was he placed it on the floor. The newsboy had all those newspapers stacked placed on the floor, and he peeked into it, and then he noted the year with the date 11 June 1894. And then later he wanted tickets. Then he went to the counter and asked for tickets, and suddenly the person at the counter, he didn't accept the currency because 1894 and the year that the protagonist lived in had very different currencies. The currencies in the past, they were different and also large in size. And the person at the counter, warned him to not mess with him. So the protagonist quickly decided to leave the scene, or else he might be put in the jail. And the jail in any century is not nice to any people. The inhabitants are never treated well. Okay, so one thing is that the First World War, it had already happened 20 years back, and the Second World War was to happen 40 years after. Actually, what I just explained was up to this paragraph. First paragraph of the next page, fifth page. So I have to explain up to here, up to 1894 here, and that's where he is. All right, in 1894. And that was that. I left the same way I came, I suppose. Next day during the lunch hour, I drew $300 out of the bank, nearly all we had, and brought the old style currency that really worried my psychiatrist friend. You can buy old money at almost any coin dealers, but you have to pay a premium. My $300 bought less than 200 in old style bills. But I didn't care. X were 13 cents a dozen in 1894. But I never again found the corridor that leads to the third level at the Grand Central Station. Although I had tried often enough, Louisa was pretty worried when I told her all this and didn't want me to look for the third level anymore. And after a while, I stopped. I went back to my stamps. But now we were both looking every weekend because now we have proof that the third level is still there. I have already mentioned earlier in the summary, when I was giving the summary, that while I will be teaching, finally we will be understanding why both and Sam, not Sam, why Charlie and his wife was looking for the third floor. Maybe in the explanation I will be making it more clear, but let me just finish this. My friend Sam Beaner disappeared. Nobody knew where, but I sort of suspect because Sam's a city boy and I used to tell him about Galesburg. I went to school there and he always said he liked the sound of the place, and that's where he is. All right, in 1894. So what happened next is like, what the author did, I mean the narrator did. Next day he went to his bank, he took out all his balance, and then with that he bought for $300. He bought 200 old style currency. It was relatively less because he had to buy a premium because they're old priced currency, right? So there will be separate charge for the old state currency, and as a part of that, he only got $200. But it was not okay because he would be a sort of a millionaire with this $200 currency back in the past. So he set out, but unfortunately, he didn't find such a place, and his wife warned not to look at that place, it would create more trouble. But later, Sam went missing. Sam is a city boy, and he used to tell to Sam Wiener that he was from Galesburg. He was born and brought up in Galesburg, and he taught a lot about that. So Sam, he thought that place was heavenly and also wanted to visit there. So what happened is that Sam time traveled. I have to break the surprise. He time traveled to the past. He discovered the third level. He discovered the third level and he went back to the past and he was able to get to Galesburg in Illinois. Because in advance, as the narrator bought old style currency, he also bought old style currency and he has like around 800 rupees right now. And now he's starting a business of hay feed business, but he can't go back to his old job by profession. He's currently now residing the past, and now who all Charlie and his wife had to bring Sam back, or they have to go back and visit him there. So next, Sam Lee writes a letter to who? Sam writes a letter to our Charlie. How did he get to manage a letter from the past? It's because in his grandparents' uh, grandfather's collection, in a collection of first covers, uh, who Sam wrote a letter in his address. And then while he was checking through those collection, he got he got this letter. It was of this address, and then he, out of curiosity, he opened, but it was not any blank paper. Usually stamp collectors, what they do is that when first cover means a stamp, when it is released, people make use of it in the same day. They write an letter to themselves just for the sake of getting that stamp. They will usually put a blank paper. To his surprise, there was no blank paper, there was text. And Sam said to bring also along with him to bring his wife to Illinois in Galesburg, and that he really liked the place. And Sam was actually Charlie's psychiatrist. So that's the end of the chapter. I didn't recite this because I already explained. So that's all for today. Bye. See you next class.